I knew all of it. I knew all his music. Keith Sykes was already working with me. He knew that I wanted to be John. I played alone. I played everywhere, and I did what I do now, you know. And John and Keith were friends, and all of a sudden, Keith said John was going to come make demos for The Missing Year. We didn't know this at the time, but John had some songs, and Keith was going to demo them. And Keith said I could be his assistant and go take John everywhere. And I couldn't believe it. So the way I met John was I went to the Peabody Hotel, WC Handy Suite, to go get him for the first day of the sessions for The Missing Years. And he was drinking vodka, he had a cigarette going. It was like 9, and we had Merle Haggard playing. And he was blow drying his hair. He said, "Come on in." And I came in and he was blow drying his hair, playing Merle Haggard, cig, vodka. And he put on some pants where, you know, sometimes people have the pants where the crotch blows out and their underwear's just hanging out. He was like, it was studio, I guess. When we went over there, that was the first time I talked to him. He was listening to Mama Tried. And he was dressed sort of like the Storm Windows cover, I remember. And he looked like the Storm Windows cover. And we got in my friend's car, and on the way over to the studio, he said, we found out our birthdays were a day apart. And he said he had a label, he had his own label. And I jokingly was like, I'm gonna be on that thing someday. Isn't that funny? And it was brand new. And then we went into the studio that day. He cut all the best, and he cut a version of Jesus the Missing Years that didn't have any music. It was just a resuscitation. And then he cut If I Could, Then I Would by Tim Carroll. Isn't that great? And then the next day, Tim flew into town. And that's how I met Tim. He was gonna come hear his song. Keith Sykes had found it somehow and got it to John. And then the next day, John did The Missing Years with the guitar part, and the chorus had been added over the night. And then the next night I played at the Daily Planet, and he showed up and got up and played Just a Small Fry, the two-gun shy, to have his heart touched without aimless love. He got him sang that, and then that was it. And I think he sang a Merle Haggard song. That was the end of the night. And then when everyone was gone, Kenny, the owner, and me and Sykes, we're all just sitting there. And, you know, Keith was producing, and they were talking about tomorrow. So John asked if he could use my guitar, and he played Everything Is Cool for us. No one had ever heard it before. He had just given me like a half hug, pat on the back, like, all right, you know, like, you're a songwriter, you know. He treated me different. Like, after that, if he came to town, he'd let me know, you know, and I'd go get to say hey and be backstage.
Hey, Otis, we're gonna talk about John now. Hey everybody, this is Todd Snider. If you know who I am, there's a good chance that it's because of a man named John Prine. And so I wanted to get together with my friend Otis Gibbs and make a film about my memories of John, kind of like a love letter to him, and Fiona and the kids too. They've done a lot for me. John was one of a kind. One of a kind. After Dylan came down here and made that record, that was a really serious, that sparked a real songwriting boom when Guy Clark thought he could get a Johnny Cash cut, so he moved here, that started something. There was country music artists that wanted it to be an art form. And I don't think the people who pay for country music wanted it to be an art form. And I don't think the people who really like country music wanted it to be an art form. So what's that do for a Guy Clark, you know, and John Prine and cats like that? And they just carved out a world just because, just like I think most poets, if they're real poets, they just do what they do and they eat when they're fed, you know? And they don't sweat it. That's kind of what those guys did. And that carved out a path for me and a handful of my friends. When the first thing started, it was this great wave of poets that moved to Nashville because Johnny Cash was making records and they thought I could at least maybe get a song on one of his records. And that pack of people created an artistic moment in American history where they ended up taking over the town and raising Willie Nelson up the pole. I don't even know how I got started. I'm pretty fucking baked. But I don't know what we're talking about. But in those days, I think some of the smartest minds of the generation decided they wanted to write poetry. It was a strange thing to do. I could see being the father of one of those guys and going, all right, yeah, no worries. I won the war. Let's see if you can rhyme anything. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad I was born after World War II and got lucky. Got to live in a time where a guy could tie strings to a box and hit it and yell out his feelings and call it entertainment and not do anything else.
It's good shit.
I hope so, Brian. You sound like a wuss ass.
I had known him for a while, and I got a record deal, and he knew that I had a record deal, but I hadn't had a record yet. And Keith said he was going to go sit in with this thing called the Whole Damn Family, and that there was a band called the Whole Damn Family, and he was like, come, I'm taking you to a Christmas party, you're gonna love it. And we get there and we go in the back. It's like a restaurant bar, and we go in the back and go in the kitchen. And Townes Van Zandt, as soon as I walk in there, Townes Van Zandt, Nancy Griffith, Guy Clark, and John Prine are doing dice on the wall. They got money in their hands. And I was like, this is what I wanted to be, you know? We sit down, John says hi to me, I meet the other guy, I meet everyone, and then Keith is in on this now. And Townes came over and sat next to me, and like he was tearing up, and he was grabbing my arm and squeezing it. And I could tell he was drunk, and he said, he looked at me and went, this is all wrong. And I was like, what do you mean it's all wrong? He was welling up, and Guy, right when I asked, what do you mean this is all wrong? Guy said something really loud. I don't even remember what it was, you know? But when he did it, he like winced, like almost like the sound of his voice was bugging him. And he was like, all this. But the Whole Damn Family was them, you know, and they were going out and doing little sets for pretty much just John's friends in the crowd. And then after we went back to John's, I think Townes passed out on the sofa right away. And there was a woman dressed as Santa Claus running around the house. And John, it was in that kitchen that you see on YouTube sometimes. John and Guy and Keith were passing the guitar around, playing their main songs, man. And I was sitting there. And then they said, why don't you play a song? I played a song I had called Hey Texas. Keith said, why don't you play that one about Texas? I played it and nobody said shit. And then Guy was like, and you didn't probably need a capo. You could have just done that without the capo. And I've never played that song again. I never played it again. That was cool. I felt like Spider, though, from the Mafia movie where they shoot the kid in the end, but they're playing cards, and there's this young guy who kind of wishes he was playing cards, but he's getting drinks and shit, you know. That was probably Keith Sykes did a lot for me, but that night might have been the best thing that I got, like that he let me be part of. That thing went on all night. They were all so much younger, and John wasn't yet like a boo. He wasn't resonating like Willie yet. I thought that John was different than the singers I had met, all the singers. No offense to any of the others, but the least precious, I guess. I learned a lot from him. We took shrooms in Amsterdam. It smoked a bunch of pot with me in Amsterdam because it was our birthdays. We did a whole German tour together, a whole European tour together. That was a lot of fun to do. We had a show in somewhere in Germany where they didn't understand what we were going to say. So he asked me at sound check, he was like, "Are you going to tell stories and stuff?" And I was like, "I don't know, are you?" And he said, the promoter said that in the paper tomorrow, they'll be able to read what we said so that we should say it, And we looked at each other and he said, "I'll tell you what, if you get to a part where usually they would like laugh and they don't," he said, "I'll cough. I'll cough." And he goes, "And then you do it during my thing." There's only like 300 people there. It was in some weird little German place. And I started telling some story and I got to the part where, I don't know, some part that usually people would laugh. And I heard him go, and through this silence. Man, that guy was funny, but also really thoughtful. As long as I knew John, he played Friday and Saturday. Yeah. And he flew first class, and then all his stuff would be in front of him. By the time he got to the hotel, it would be set up already. And he'd just have a huge bag of books, get his own car, drive himself everywhere. Yeah. Show up he'd come to the show alone. He did not like the tube. That's what he called it. Him and Jerry Jeff both didn't want to live in the tube. They hated the bus. They couldn't stand it. He also was like, Friday and Saturday, that's the night to play. But I think he did not like the bus, and he didn't like being away from his kids. So that was their system for as long as I knew him. Yeah. He wouldn't tour. He didn't like to tour. I think that the Missing Years tour might have been the last one. Maybe the Lost Dogs tour was a tour. But by that time, I think he was just doing Friday and Saturday. He has a system too. He comes right in, he goes right into the bar, asks the guy when he closes, and then talks him into staying open till 2, hooks him up, says, "I'll be coming back." And then he goes and, has the bar there. And he likes to have a drink, a Handsome John after the gig. It's a ginger ale and vodka. And he had this thing where he would order them and then act like he'd be surprised you hadn't heard of it. He also would introduce himself, like I saw him like a strain, like if it was, I forget who it was, but he was being introduced to someone that didn't know him, didn't really know of him. And they said John Prine, and he said everyone calls me Handsome John. Just he He is good. He was also just good to me, him and Al, like the night that at the LA show that where I got myself dropped just by running my mouth, you know. John really had the video of that, loved it. He just thought it was great.
Okay, so we were on tour. Our third record was getting ready to come out. We had just played Santa Cruz. We were going to play LA the next night, and it was going to be all the press and the label, and I had all the best intentions driving to town. I don't know what something came over me when I get to LA. Something often does still to this day when I get to LA. Something gets a hold of me. But we were getting ready for that show, and I remember we were having our wine and everything back there, and I wasn't sure. I was on the fence about the whole thing at that time. And so when the guy like the glad hander came up and said, "Oh, Todd, you look terrific. This is gonna be a great night. Is there anything I can do to help you tonight?" Yeah, all the people that you need me to meet tonight, I want to meet them after. You know, can we just play? We're tired. We've been playing forever. We'll play. Then I'll meet all the people. You know. Okay, Todd, you got it, bro. And he went down the stairs and came right back up with all the heads of all the labels and all the people that were gonna tell me what I had to, what they all had the hoop they wanted me to jump through when I went on. And I was put off by it. I was really put off by it. And so after the first song, I did like this monologue about how little I liked the people that we were performing for. Like, even though that was suppressing the label and everything, they didn't strike me the way I'd grown up in Oregon or Memphis or anything. There was something really celluloid about it and money driven about it that I didn't. Not only did I not want to be part of it, I knew I didn't need it. I knew I didn't need them to achieve what I wanted to do with my time. So I got on stage and played one song, and I said, I just don't like any of you. I don't like what you're wearing, and I just don't want to sing for you. And that's it. I'm just not going to. And the label, so I think I sang a song, and I left, and I jumped off the front of the stage and went out the front door, but everybody was silent, and you could hear a pin drop. And then when it was like those doors, like a gym, you know, and when I pushed them, I was very aware that you could really hear it. It was like, heard those doors open, and you could hear them crash. And I just started walking down the street to look for a bar, and Madonna's brother came running after me and wanted to help me. I just didn't want to play that night for them or be on their label anymore. But but I went into a restaurant, and I'm sure I looked like a rocker on the road, but River Phoenix had just killed himself in front of a restaurant, so the guy wouldn't let me sit in there because I must have looked like disheveled or sweaty or something. They kicked me out of there, and then I got in the cab and went back to my room, trashed the shit out of it, and then went down for breakfast. Marty Stewart was down there, and we had a laugh, and then I flew home, and Jerry Jeff called and said he'd heard about it, and he said when he had been a kid, he thought he should have got a sign on his roof that said sorry, so he could just come home and turn it on. He said, you need a roof like that. But John, the whole thing was on video, and John said it was perfection. You know, he said I might have cut it short, but he said you could have cut it a little shorter, but he was proud of me for saying all that. But he just thought showing up at the record release party with the press, walking on stage and saying, fuck all y'all, I don't need this. None of them forgot it, you know. And he was like, I wish more people did that to big labels, you know. People are so ready to do whatever they got to do to make it to be famous, mostly because they don't have an artistic thing they're trying to achieve. They just are going to use, if they have to get some good art together to achieve their fame, they will, begrudgingly. But people who want to make art just want to make art. I don't give a rat's ass if those people, I wasn't there to try to be a professional person. I was there to, you know what I mean? I wasn't there to further my career. I was there to stomp on the terra and freak out the squares. So I thought rock and roll was, I thought that's what it was about. I was nervous to hear what he thought, but he said that all the things I said were really good about everyone having fake teeth and tits, and then he just said that it was really cool the way they were silent, and I jumped off the thing and walked through, and he said they won't forget that. And in the paper there was a bunch of stuff about it that made it sound like I was good, but the MCA wanted me to go to a mental home, and Al said no such thing. So I got dropped, but went right to Oh Boy after that. It all happened right after that event. I wasn't supposed to have singles anyway, you know, and so I felt like I was being, you know, have you ever been around acts that are supposed to have a single? That's just there's a lot more work to singles and having hits than just making records. It's like 10 times the work, 20 times the amount of people in your life that you have to talk to before the gig, you know. I don't want a lot of, so here was the other shoe dropping though, was like, John was like, I totally get that you don't want to hear it from this guy. What's he know about what we do, you know? And he was like, what if I listen to your shit? You don't play me your shit. And I was like, yeah, cool. And I thought that, yeah, this will work, you know? And I played him 13 of my songs, and he was like, yeah, one of these is really good. And I was like, what? And he's like, are you gonna, like, now what? You know? Because he knew what he meant to me. He's like, I'm not just some guy from business school, am I? You know, I don't care if it's 3 minutes long. Do I? You know? And then he told me that he had let Steve Goodman do that to him on Fish and Whistle, yeah. The one Steve produced. He was at his wit's end with whatever his songwriting meant. Like, what makes one different than the other if I'm not trying to be on the radio? He's like, my friend Steve could help me make that decision. He's like, I kind of think I know what who you're wanting to sing to and how you want them to hear it, you know? And it was more like, if I would do this thing that anybody would chop their fucking leg off to have me do, are you gonna be a dick about it? Like you were to that guy, you know? And I wasn't, no. I threw out all those songs, started over. Kept the one Missing You, it was about my dad, and he was like, that's beautiful. But he was like, that last record, my God. Good, you know, all those girls, they sure know better now. I don't want to sit and listen to this shit. Yeah, you know, he got the last word on like 7 of them.
good for you, you know. He was like, when I met you, you were like open, you know, telling, you know. But, you know, a lot of people, by the time they've made their third record, they're mad. Because they're getting a ton of shit, you know. And this was, I'm supposed to have singles, so I'm just mad. And, yeah, and then so, but when John said, so that, you know, I'm getting around to answering your question was, now my A&R guy was John. And he there was a song called Long Year that was in A minor and called It Gets Harder to Listen to. And that was the one where he was like, see this? See what you're doing? You know, it was, and I went and rewrote it back for Long Year. And he's like, you got it, that's it. In the first one, I'm like, these dipshit motherfuckers think that I should quit drinking. You know? He's like, that's not the guy I'm driving around with, you know? So then he said that I threw those songs out. I changed that one song into Long Year and started over. And that, instead of like making a tape of 13 songs, my life switched to make up one song and come play it for me now. You know? And when it went that way, it was like I got this super hands-on, borderline co-writing attention. And then, so I love that record because it's like, because that's a, you know, like he said, you show people what's in your heart. And then, like our thing, like, and I did this myself, but when we did that thing we're doing, the songwriting, my thing, there's like 3 steps in my thing. And the first one's impossible, but then the second one is open your heart and show people what's in there. And then step 3, work on what's in there, you know? And so on the third record, I was like, I could use this to win arguments. And by the 4th record, I was like, I could use this to apologize and to seek wisdom instead of victory. On my birthday, he took me to lunch on my birthday, and he was telling me that he had gotten to have lunch with Van Morrison on his birthday one time. And it was similar. It was like, that's his main guy. You can hear it in Tommy, actually. And he said that they'd been sitting there talking for about 5 minutes, and John asked him something about the label, like the label he'd been on before, some kind of businessy sounding thing. And John said, Van looked up and went, you've ruined the whole lunch. And left. Isn't that crazy?
Huh? Okay, Oprah. Now this table here?
Yeah, I was trying to.
All right. Oh, so we can get Bigfoot in?
We can try to.
Okay, like this.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was it? When the darkness was all there was, it looked like nothing in sight. But something must have made a difference, because, don't look at that, the next thing, suddenly there was light, and it was everything the darkness had never been. And it came along with everything else, and everything else came along with the same kind of opposite of itself. Every single solitary thing there is, like nothing there had ever been, blown into space, into the shape of the universe we're living in. That's pretty good. That was really the beginning. I'd known him for 8 years when that happened, and that was the nicest thing that he could have done for me, you know. Because then I was like, wow, him and Al both took me to camp from there, you know. Al Bonetta was John's longtime manager the whole time. They were really close. And Al had worked for Paul Anka, I think. And that's who John and Stevie signed with, maybe manager or something like that. I mean, I don't know if this is true or whatever, but supposedly he stole the contracts and just made them go away. was with, he was John's booking agent, and then he quit and became John's manager. And they were really close, and it was not manager, singer, it was like friends. And together I felt like they really helped me, like you know how you have a producer, like really in that way. Yeah, me too. There couldn't be TVs on. The house lights had to be down, and all the chairs had to face the stage. Or he would say, "Don't go play. Just don't go on." And if they say, "Well, we're not gonna turn our TVs off," just say, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna play."
Did you ever have to do that?
A lot, yeah. Or with the chairs, there was a lot of the nights too. It was I forget, some night we didn't play, yeah. And it's like, how come you guys aren't playing? No, I didn't face the chairs the right way. We just didn't say anything.
Folk problems.
Yeah, folk problems. Yeah, together they were, I thought, some seriously bad motherfuckers. When I met him, Al was huge, and he was always like talking. It was like The Simpsons, if there was a manager on The Simpsons, except for I loved him, yeah. He was a lot. Like he would say, "Let's do lunch, babe." He was like that. Or really, like, again, like not what you'd think John Prine would be hanging out with, but he was great. They bullied me perfectly. But Al sure talked a lot about Steve. You know, I'm sure you've heard the one about how Christopherson saw Steve Goodman, and that's where Steve Goodman was opening for Christopherson, and he knocked him out. Just blew his mind. And nobody does this kind of thing. He told Steve, he says, "I'm gonna get you a record deal." Steve was like, my best friend's better than me. He'll freak you out. And Chris was like, "Well, I want to see that. Where's that?" And there was the Old Town School of Folk. John was playing over there that night. And it was like, "Let's go. It's very close." So they went over there, and the place was closed already. They already had the chairs on the tables. And John said he would, they said, "Get up there and play. You know, Chris Christopherson wants to hear your songs." He played "Hello" in there, and the one about the hole in Daddy's arm. And Chris took them with him from there straight away, like, "Come get on the tour. We're going to New York. I'll get you record deals there." And by the time they got to New York, Chris knew, and Chris opened, I think, with one of John's songs in New York by the time he had a full man crush. And then still, the first time I talked to Chris, he called me up to say he said, "You're the new John Prine." That's how I met him. Yeah, he said, "You passed the John Prine test." My wall would be Chris, John, Billy Joe, and then Jerry Jeff. But with that comes Guy in my mind, because I sometimes might say Guy. Jerry Jeff was more of a singer than a songwriter, really. He recorded more covers than his own songs, ultimately, yeah. So I sometimes think of Guy Clark as my fourth. I was at Oh Boy. We would all sit in Al's office and shoot the shit. And Al said that John had just shot a movie with Billy Bob Thornton, where he played Billy Bob's brother in it. John had just done this movie. he hadn't written a song in years, and Al said they wanted him to write I was there. Al was like, they want you to write a song for the movie, and I think he was like, they want me to. It's supposed to be called Daddy and Them, and then I remember I was like, oh, that was a cool question, and then I remember the next thing he said was, is it like they're gonna have a radio on in the kitchen and this song's playing, or is it like the song is like, here's the story of a man, like, am I supposed to sing about the movie? And I think Al said you're supposed to sing about the movie. It's like gonna be the credit, and he went like, oh man, I don't want to. John always was like reluctant to want to do a new song, and at least towards the end. So he kind of fought with it, like, oh man, I don't know. And then Al talked him into it. He said, I'll go down in the basement. And he was down there 30, 40 minutes. And he came up, he had In Spite of Ourselves, the one. And she don't like, and he had it on guitar, she don't like her eggs all runny. And Al was looking at me like, see? Yeah, and it was a monster, you could tell. And it was on legal pads, and he'd use almost the whole thing, because it was like almost each thing was on the page, and it was like sideways. So it was like, not, it was like, she don't like her eggs all runny, and like a huge thing. And he laid it on the ground and sang it. And then said, he said, I think it'd be cool if Iris sang. I think he said it's a duet before he even played it. He's like, I think Iris would do it.
So you're one of the first people to ever hear that song.
Yeah, for sure. Me and Al Bonetta and Dan Einstein heard that song first. And I forget Al's little niece's name. Al was such a major part of his thing. They were good friends. Al was an artistic guy.
There's a bluebird that just landed behind you. Hopefully we got that on camera.
Mr. Bluebird on my shoulder. It's funny, I always wished it was like, if somebody could have helped Towns realize that was a really nice little song.
Zippy doo doo.
Yeah, it's not a terrible, terrible little song. It's like, might be alive today if he could have stomached that thing. Well, that is pretty.
That was great.
And I have some, it's funny to think about that shit with John, because when the first time I played that open mic and the owner said that he thought I was good, he said I could be like John Prine, and I didn't know who that was. And then he played me some Prine, but then I went to a party at some house. I ended up spending the night, and everybody was trading songs, and this Kent Finley told me I was good, and I was like, I met this guy last night. You wouldn't fucking believe his songs. I said, and I played That's the Way the World Goes Round. I said, listen to this fucking thing this guy wrote. And Kent was like, I got it. That's John Prine's song. That was weird. The guy was like my age too. He thought that was very cool. And I came in the office, I was sitting there with Al talking, and on the desk it said, it had a Spin magazine with a little sticky note on it, and said, will John list top 5 albums of the year, please? And so I looked down and I said, oh man, cool, John's gonna list his favorite albums for Spin? And Al was like, no. I remember thinking, yeah, it really surprised me. I also remember thinking, oh, okay, you can say no to stuff. I love Spin, but I would have done it. But I remember, I don't know why, I just felt that was something that got me. I remember, and the way he did it too, I was like, thing said, it was said right there from Spin magazine, will John Prine list his top 5 albums? And I was like, is John gonna list his top 5 albums for Spin? That's great. Nah, he's not gonna do it.
One time I was on the road with John, and he was just starting to write again. It was the Taking the Walk era, fair and square era, I want to say. And he came to me and he said, I have this idea for a song we could write together. And right away, I just lost my grease. And he was like, yeah, I got this idea. You know how in a plane, they have a black box for when the plane crashes. And I got this idea for a song where you should put one of those in my heart. And God, just sitting here now talking to you, I'm like, I can think of a lot of ideas, but I was just like, okay, man, that's a fucking great idea. And I never had we'd sit down and I'd be like, oh God, I can't even think about it when he's around. I never calmed down around him, I never got jocular with him, or I revered him though. Even though we joked around and he would give me shit sometimes, I never would give it back. Or I was just yes sir, and I didn't joke around with him that much. One time when John and I went to, I just remember they asked him to describe me. We did an interview with a guy where we were together, and they said, the first time you saw Todd, what did he look like to you? And he said, if it had been at this table, I would say he looked like he thought the ketchup and the mustard and everything might come attack him. I don't think that's a compliment, but it's true though. A guy can really nail people, He gets people fast, and then he comes up with a way like that to say it, I don't know, I never really felt like I could be myself around him. So I wasn't myself around him. But I think a lot of the times that whole crew, it's like they can see that you're a lifer or something. It's like, I know he thought my songs were cool because he would sing them, or, but I think it was more, I think that a lot of those guys just knew I was like, didn't have anywhere else to go, like this guy's busking. It's like not like I'm not one Trustafar busking or anything like that, And I think that, just hungry or whatever. I think he saw that. The one story that I tell that I've told, but I don't think I've ever told it on the camera, and the one that was really telling of him was the one where the kid drove the wrong way for so long after John said, hey, you're going the wrong way. And the guy drove another hour out of our way. And when he finally said, you were right, it didn't change John at all, And I remember thinking at the time that it was real. And I still think it was real. I think he finally got to this place where he just wasn't going to get ruffled anymore, The rest of us were like, you fucker. And John might have just been thinking, what's the point of getting upset anymore? But it felt like he went right to it. You know what I mean? Like he didn't even have to stop and remind himself to take a deep breath. He had just gotten there. But then, I remember really thinking like that was a, something to try to be. Yeah, John called me right after Al died, and I had 4 records and publishing and all that, and he said, asked me if I wanted it back,
And I was like, of course, of course. And I told him I would call Bert and get an offer together, Or I said to her, if you just tell me what it is, I'll go get a loan or whatever.
This is to buy your records back.
Yeah, why not, right?
Your record contract, yeah.
Yeah, and no one would ever offer anyone that opportunity, really. But he said, no, I was just going to give them back to you. Unheard of. But Keith Sykes did the same thing for me. He was like, oh man, he's got a bunch of my publishing. It's like, they did great, man. Have it back. That family we talk about, that I think of as John and Guy and Chris and all that. It's a unique group, and that was part of it. That says a lot about both of them to me. That whole gang was in it for the music.
Yeah, I want to say that might have been the night. Might have been in Portland, Oregon, and it might have been both, but he called me he asked me if I would come down to his Ryman show and try to make it, he wanted to have a bunch of special guests. And when it was over, he said, I'll return the favor. Don't forget, I'll return the favor. I said, thanks, man. And then when it got close to my Ryman show, he reached out again and said, you want me to come sing at your show? And I said, yeah, man, that'd be great. And it was 420. So we were going to do Illegal Smile. And, I could see him the whole show there with Fiona. And I knew he liked my dog. And so when he came out, my dog jumped up and they hugged each other. And then we sang Illegal Smile, and show was over, but he grabbed me and he looked right in my eyes like, hey, I love you, Todd. You know that, right? And I didn't know that. I mean, it meant a lot to me that he said that to me. And I took it to mean he didn't have long on the world. And then I think he did that again in Seattle or something. But also, though, we were just good friends, We had some fun. I never calmed down around him like I am now with you guys. Just 'cause. But I calmed down some, we joked around, played songs.
Was he the type of person to say I love you to people very often?
No way. No way. I'd never heard him say it in 20 years. When he said it to me on the stage, I thought he has terminal cancer. I was afraid. I was like, oh, he's gonna die. He's tough. As sensitive as his songs were, same with Guy. It was like they could be really vulnerable in their songs, but they did not want to hear people's sob stories. Like, I'm vulnerable, but don't make me do it right now. Or, I have compassion, but geez. I think the first night that I saw it was in Portland, and I knew that John had been, through chemo again and all that. And I was hoping he'd look the same. He looked the same. And then the show was going on. It was just a John show. And then at the end of the show, instead of ending with Paradise like he'd done his whole career, it looked like on this tour, he was going to end with Lake Marie, where it ends, I-oh, and then he goes. And so on this first night of the tour, the song is pretty much over. It would seem like this moment where he's done his part. He set his guitar down and wave and walk off while the band vamp. You see guys do that, right? I thought he was gonna do. And so he turned around and he set down his guitar on the ground. But then he started kind of doing the Jimi Hendrix Monterey, like he was trying to evoke something out of it. And then he started doing, I don't know what it was, like the salt shaker and then pretty soon, it happened really slowly, but pretty soon he was dancing like he had never danced in his whole career. And I started to cry. I don't know what it was, but when he started dancing slowly and kept dancing, he evoked something in people that they didn't understand, that I didn't understand either. People were crying and laughing and dancing. It was like a wordless poem about being free.
It felt like Rocky. The people were crying and holding their hands up like he won. He won life. It had so much shock to it. The first night he did it, he walked past me and I was crying. And he was like, he didn't see that coming, did you? And I thought, oh, God.
But I really felt like he was pointing out to the older people in the venue that dancing as an older person has a lot more depth to it than dancing as a younger person. It almost felt like he was showing all the people in and around his age how to go out. Like when you see young people dancing, it's because they feel sexy and they want people to see that. And then older people, they dance because they don't feel sexy, but they don't give a fuck who sees it. You know, yeah, it's like young people dancing are ready for it, whatever it is. The way John danced was like, I'm over it, whatever it was. And which seems like a more sacred place. Everybody's trying to get to that place where they're over it. Especially if you can do it before you die, to where you could get over it. You could see through whatever is happening to us. You could figure out what was happening to us.
I really overthought it. It almost seems like this, the old people way of dancing and the young people way of dancing. Even thought it through to the point where it seems like the dead get young people to dance like old people, and that's why it's just so profound. Those kids aren't dancing for sex, they're dancing for the cosmos. They want the stars to see them